Hello, welcome to Jason the Old Millennial. My name is Jason, speaking to you here in my basement in the great state of Kansas. And in today's video, I'm going to count down my 10 favorite comedies that I own. Also talk about some honorable mentions here. I hope everybody's having a really good Memorial Day. And thank you to all the soldiers out there that are sacrificing and serving the country. I really appreciate all of you doing that. So yeah, let's get into this here on Jason the Old Millennial. Hello, hope everybody's doing well here on Memorial Day, here on a Monday, kind of late afternoon into the evening period. Unfortunately, I do have to go to work later today. One of the things about being in healthcare, you don't get holidays off all the time. Anyways, that's all right. I just wanted to do a quick video, though, talking about my favorite comedies and kind of showcasing some comedies that I own myself anyways. So I'm starting off with some honorable mentions. Absolutely love. I have The Out-of-Towners with Jack Lemmon, Sandy Dennis. Absolutely hilarious. Jack Lemmon's probably the funniest actor of all time. My favorite comedic actor, even though he does some serious movies as well. Really, really hilarious here. Great chemistry between the two, the married couple here. And just a movie about everything goes wrong as he visits like New York and for a job interview, and just how everything can just go drastically wrong for you and how it can be funny. Definitely check that out. I do love a good mockumentary. This is a really good one, What We Do in the Shadows, written and directed by Taika Waititi there. But yeah, really funny parody of vampire movies, following this vampire group in New Zealand anyway. So yeah, really check that out. This is kind of a classic for me as a kid. I absolutely love this movie, The Three Amigos. I mean, you got three absolute legends, Steve Martin, Chevy Chase, Martin Short, absolutely hilarious together. Play three actors who then, a town in Mexico is getting harassed by El Guapo, this, guy that, harasses everybody and wants money. And so they get called in. They think they're doing an acting job, not realizing that they're actually called to take out El Guapo, which they actually, aren't equipped to do. Very funny movie. I do like the National Lampoon's vacation movies. Chevy Chase is absolutely brilliant in them. My favorite, though, is Christmas Vacation. Very, very funny. One of my favorite Christmas movies as well. Chevy Chase, absolutely hilarious as Griswold, the head of the family. Great time during Christmas time. I don't put it in my top 10 because I consider it more into my Christmas movies. When I do my top 10 Christmas movies, that's in that list. So I kind of took out all these Christmas movies out of my top 10 comedies to talk about other ones. I got How the Grinch Stole Christmas, and again, another it's a Christmas movie, but absolutely hilarious. Jim Carrey as the Grinch is, I think, his best role ever. Funniest role he's ever done. Directed by Ron Howard. It's a Christmas classic. Again, I didn't put it in my comedies because it's a Christmas, but it is funny, so I had to mention it. Another Christmas classic now is Elf with Will Ferrell. Absolutely hilarious. One of Will Ferrell's funniest roles. Again, great Christmas movie, in my top 10 Christmas movies of all time. One I watch every year. Very, very funny movie, though. That's really grown on me. I call this another Christmas movie called Daddy's Home 2. It's actually also, I think it might also be in my top 10 Christmas movies or in there, which you might not think of it, but it is done during Christmas time. They're getting together as family getting together for Christmas. So it's partly Christmas, I think. But very, very funny movie. Again, Will Ferrell, one of my favorite comedic actors of all time, and great chemistry there with Mark Wahlberg, playing a tough guy. Much better than the original movie, in my opinion. But yeah, definitely check that out if you haven't. I have one of my favorite romantic comedies, The Goodbye Girl, with Richard Dreyfuss. Wins the Oscar for Best Actor in 1977. Also, Marsha Mason, really good in here. But yeah, there's some really good comedic moments as they really don't get along at the beginning. Another kind of underrated movie, I don't know if many people have seen this one, but it's called The Hammer by Adam Carolla. I got the Blockbuster. This came from Blockbuster long ago when Blockbuster was around, and they were just selling everything, so I grabbed this. But yeah, really funny movie. Adam Carolla is absolutely hilarious. One of the few movies that he's starred in, and I think he might have even written the script because it's kind of has some similarity to his own life. He's a carpenter who also teaches boxing lessons, which he actually did in real life before he became famous. But yeah, it's actually a somewhat inspirational boxing movie, but it is funny comedy as well. Also, I don't have Monty Python's A Holy Grail. I had to put that on my list. It's like definitely, it's got some really funny parts. It's a little silly, too silly at moments, and I think it's very clunky at the end, how they end the whole movie, and it's not as funny towards the end. The beginning part is just absolutely hilarious, so I definitely have to mention that movie as well. And I'm sure there's some other comedies I don't have with me at the moment that there's too many to talk about, but there's some of the major ones that I've got that I'd like to get. So let's go with number 10. Number 10, you can call it a musical, actually. I put it in the comedy situation because it makes me laugh so much, and that's Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. Gene Wilder, again, one of my favorite actors of all time, and I mean, comedic actors. He is absolutely hilarious. I mean, he's got so many good comedies, and this is definitely one of my favorites of his. I mean, again, it's a musical, you know, but they definitely played up for laughs, especially Gene Wilder. I mean, just iconic character. In the ninth spot, I put A Mighty Wind, which is another mockumentary. Like I said, I do really enjoy a good mockumentary, which is a comedy that looks like a documentary, where they're, you know that there's a camera on them, they're playing to the camera, they're looking at the camera, and all this, and it's supposed to pretend like it's real, like these characters are real, but they're not. They're actually just, you know, made up, of course, for the movie, but they're shot in documentary style, which I absolutely love. And the music is absolutely amazing. Like the whole movie is these folk groups get together for a tribute concert to the guy that produced them, and everybody wrote their own music for the movie and sing and play the instruments. So it's absolutely incredible. Eugene Levy and Catherine O'Hara especially, absolutely hilarious, and are kind of the heart of the movie, I would say. Excellent comedy from them. And I'm following that up at number 8 with another mockumentary by the same group, and this is Best in Show. These are both movies, A Mighty Wind and Best in Show, were directed by Christopher Guest, who also stars in there. That's Christopher Guest there. He stars in the movies, or co-stars in the movies, and is written with Eugene Levy. So they did like 4 movies together, and these are my 2 favorite, Mighty Wind and Best in Show, which all deals with people with dogs, and they go to the famous dog show and compete in that. And so it just kind of follows them on their journey going to the dog show, the different characters, and they're all very funny and quirky. Anyway, so absolutely hilarious movie, and especially if you like dogs. I think you really love this movie because there's a lot of funny things around dogs, as well as I got 2 dogs myself. 7 on my, hopefully I'm getting this right. 7 on my list is Anchorman. Again, Will Ferrell. You're gonna see a lot of Will Ferrell movies because, yeah, I absolutely loved Will Ferrell from Saturday Night Live all the way to his movie stardom. And this is, Elf was like the first movie he really was the star of. I feel like he was the lead actor and really carried the movie. And this was maybe the second one after that, I feel like, if I remember right, that he was really like taking over as a comedy star and becoming the biggest comedic actor in Hollywood. And this is great. It's great casting as well. I mean, you got Paul Rudd in there, David Koechner, Steve Carell, Christina Applegate. Yeah, absolutely hilarious look at a fake San Diego reporter in the 70s and dealing with a first woman reporter, and that was like a big deal. But yeah, I remember seeing this for the first time at a friend's house. I didn't see it in the theater for some reason, and I don't remember ever laughing so hard. Like, I laughed so hard my stomach hurt. It was like one of those big laughs. Like every line, I was like, oh my gosh! Like they obviously were improvising a lot, and these are such great improvisers that you can tell, like, okay, this scene couldn't have been written. They must have improvised this. But this movie, along with some others I'll talk about, is written by Will Ferrell and Adam McKay. Adam McKay directed this. They did a couple movies together. Absolutely hilarious work there. I believe I'm at number 6 now. I'm just making sure. Number 6, I have Tommy Boy, and I have a steel book. One of my few steel books I've gotten, but I love steel books. So, got Chris Farley and David Spade. Absolutely amazing duo. Of course, came from Saturday Night Live. Again, I was a big fan of them in the early 90s in Saturday Night Live. Chris Farley is my favorite, like, Saturday Night Live alumni. Absolutely hilarious here. It's the first movie together as a starring role, basically. First time he got to star in a movie. Totally knocks it out of the park. I mean, honestly, his physical comedy is so good. I mean, how he falls a lot, he bumps into things, but somehow makes it absolutely hilarious. Him and Dave Spade are great together because, of course, you know, Chris Farley's really big. David Spade is a little smaller. Dave Spade's a little snarky. And so their personalities work so good together. And Chris Farley's just a very likable guy, so it's just so fun to like him. It's a really actually good story overall, and a really good ending to it. But absolutely hilarious moments. And a lot of it was done on the fly. That was, if you look at the audio commentary or the special features, it was like they really didn't have the script finished, and they kind of had to just go with little bits that they did when they're not on the screen, and it actually works into a really funny movie. Again, to my top 5 here. I had to include this, Dr. Strangelove, or How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Love the Bomb. Stanley Kubrick, a movie from, I think, 64 or so, starring Peter Sellers in 3 different parts. Yeah, definitely it's a satire comedy dealing with nuclear war. So it's a very funny premise of like a very serious subject matter. Nuclear war, of course, at the time was a big deal. The Cold War with Russia, and the idea that someone goes crazy and sets off nuclear bombs on Russia, and all of a sudden we start a nuclear war almost by accident, or not by purpose anyways. And how do we, you know, deal with that situation? And so they deal with different characters, and like I said, Peter Sellers is really great. Best comedic performance by him, who's, you know, one of the great comedic actors of the 60s period. Especially his Dr. Strangelove character, the German in the wheelchair who can't control his arms. Yeah, it's a little strange. It's not for everybody, but I still recommend checking it out. I think if you get it, you'll get how funny it is. Number 4, I got a movie from 1955 called Mr. Roberts. I put it in the comedy category because it is very funny. There's some absolute hilarious scenes because, again, Jack Lemmon, best comedic performance of all time, I think, in this movie. And it's a great cast. I mean, you got Henry Fonda, you got William Powell, James Cagney. I mean, you got 3 Oscar winners and a nominee there, basically. And they're on a ship, a cargo ship during World War II. And Mr. Roberts, played by Henry Fonda, wants to get off the ship and actually go, you know, experience battles and stuff like that. But the really terrible captain, played by James Cagney, won't let him off because Henry Fonda's character, Mr. Roberts, is such a good lieutenant, whatever, that he's trying to get promotion based off of his hard work. It's a really good story. It's based off of a Broadway play that Henry Fonda played in. But the real highlight is Jack Lemmon, who wins the Oscar for Best Supporting Actor for 1955. I mean, so he was so funny, he won an Oscar for it. There is some dramatic moments into it. So it's mostly comedy. There is some drama mixed in there, but mostly, you have to say, there's some really great comedic bits in here. Like I said, Jack Lemmon, absolutely hilarious. One of the famous scenes, he wants to put a firecracker under the captain's bed, and so he develops this big firecracker and accidentally blows a hole in the, he works in the laundry, and so he blows a hole in the laundry area, and it fills the bottom part of the boat with soap suds, and he's, you know, in soap suds. It's a very, very iconic, funny scene, but yeah, definitely check this out. In fact, I requested this on Mike Did You See That's channel to review this. I'm hoping Mike will review this movie at some point. All right, number 3 is Groundhog Day, my favorite Bill Murray movie. Obviously, he's one of the great comedic actors. I mean, you can look at What About Bob, Ghostbusters, you know, Stripes. Definitely one of the kings of comedy. This actually, again, deals with a little more drama. Like, actually, I do have some parts where I cry in this movie. Actually, one part in general that's very sad. But mostly it's a comedy. Bill Murray is absolutely great. Of course, famously, this movie where he repeats the same day over again. It's Groundhog Day, and how does he deal with that? You know, in the different ways of like, does he go against it? Then he finally kind of just, you know, goes with it and tries to make himself a better person, which is kind of the cool redemption story of the character. But still has some good comedic moments. I'm trying to think. You got Chris Elliott, who's is very funny as well. now I'm forgetting, Harold Ramis, the director, of course, directed a lot of comedies. Stephen Tobolowsky, I was trying to think of his name. Very funny as the insurance salesman who keeps coming up each day. Really great, small part, but absolutely hilarious in here. Number 2, another Will Ferrell movie. My favorite Will Ferrell movie is Talledega Nights. Kind of coming right off of Anchorman. He comes with this movie and just, again, absolutely hilarious. I saw this in the movie theater. I laughed so hard. I mean, it actually has, I think, a better storyline than Anchorman. I say overall has and a good ending to it. But man, really, really amazing cast. I mean, just look there. You got, of course, John C. Reilly, Shake and Bake. I love the Shake and Bake. Such a funny line in there. But you can see, again, directed by Adam McKay and written by Adam McKay and Will Ferrell, looking at the comedy through racing. You got Sacha Baron Cohen there, Gary Cole, Michael Clark Duncan, Amy Adams is in here. Also, I forget now names, but man, a lot of funny people in here. And just a really funny look at racing, NASCAR racing. And Will Ferrell, just one of the great characters of all time, as Ricky Bobby. And, you know, great bits of, like, you know, praying to baby Jesus, to, you know, I don't know what to do with my hands, as his hands, you know, come up into frame. Just, again, you know that they're just improvising a lot of these scenes as they're going, and they just come up with some of the greatest bits of all time. Definitely check that out. And my number 1 favorite comedy of all time is Young Frankenstein. Mel Brooks, one of the great comedic directors of all time. I mean, you're talking about, you know, producers, Blazing Saddles, and then a lot of spoof movies like, you know, Young Frankenstein, Robin Hood, and Robin Hood, Men in Tights, Spaceballs. That's some of my favorite of his. But this is absolutely my favorite. And Gene Wilder, again, starring in the starring role. As you can see, I probably go Jack Lemmon, Gene Wilder, Will Ferrell, probably my 3 favorite comedic actors in here. And it's a good spoof of the Frankenstein movie, using some of the sets even. I love Marty Feldman as Igor. Really funny performance from him. Also, Madeline Kahn is in it for a very short time, and she just is so funny. She nails it, knocks it out of the park in her scenes. But yeah, you know, Cloris Leachman, the great Cloris Leachman with the Frau Bruckler and the horses, like, oh, so funny. She's absolutely hilarious in here. Of course, as a Frankenstein's monster, Peter Boyle, one of his best roles before he did Everybody Loves Raymond. But, you know, you got Terry Garr, Kenneth Mars. I mean, absolute classic. And I love the parody of Frankenstein. I love Gene Wilder's Dr. Frankenstein. He doesn't want to be related to the Frankensteins, but yet he decides to work on his grandfather's work of reanimating dead life. Anyways, so many great scenes, like when the monster first comes alive, and Igor put a abnormal brain in it instead of the one they wanted, and it starts going crazy and choking Gene Wilder's character. And then he asks him, you know, what kind of brain did you put in there? I think her name was Abby Normal. And he's like, you put an abnormal brain in this? Anyways, absolutely hilarious scene throughout. And there's a great dance scene at the end, of course, very famous, Putting on the Ritz. But yeah, just every time I watch this movie, I just die laughing. I've seen it so many times. Still gets me, the whole movie. Just a really fun, kind of silly movie, but really works. If you haven't seen it, definitely got to check out Young Frankenstein. I think one of the funniest movies ever made. And I keep thinking there's so many movies I'm missing. Like, I'm a big fan of Jerry Lewis. I didn't put any on my list, but, you know, there's some good ones there, like Rockabye Baby, Who's Minding the Stores, probably my favorite one. But yeah, I can't go wrong with some of the Jerry Lewis classics. Stir Crazy, I forgot to put on my list. I don't have that movie, but really great comedy from Gene Wilder, again, one of my favorite comedic actors. But I love Gene Wilder and Richard Pryor together in that one as well. And like I said, there's probably other ones I'm forgetting top of my mind. These are the ones I have. But yeah, so please comment. What do you think about these comedies? What are your favorite comedies? I'm sure you'll have some that I didn't mention that are your favorite that I don't mind you putting down there and saying, here's something you forgot. I will say, yep, you're right, I forgot it. So yeah, feel free to comment on all that. And just thank you for watching this video. Thank you for liking it. And thank you to all my subscribers for supporting the channel. I appreciate you all. Have a good day.